Life is good, but it can be better.
I want to be the apex predator.
Barbara, what did you do?
The way I fly, they will never find us.
I forgot to tell you.
What?
Radar.
Will they shoot at us? Well, shit, Diana. Does everybody parachute now?
Hello. And
Hello.
happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
All
Hope you're having
being
a lovely
well.
time.
When we're posting this, at least, not necessarily when you listen to it. It's Christmas Day still.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you may be listening to it on an escape from the family goings on
Toxic family Christmas.
during Christmas
So if
Day
you're-
or in the period
If you're
between
in the
Christmas and
cupboard
New Year.
under the stairs, where you normally listen to us. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's your free gift. We've got a Christmas stocking for you. Here's a
this
gift
is a
from
thing
our-
we recorded a little while ago.
Yeah.
So we've delved back into the archives and lifted out of the Christmas stocking this is the first part of the first episode that we did.
Yeah.
Breaking
How many
down
did we do?
Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah. So that you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it
hey,
might be on over Christmas.
What more would you want from a
maybe
a
I don't know.
Christmas? But the Gal Gadot and
Chris Pine.
What's his name?
Chris Pine,
Yeah.
and Kirsten Wiig.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is, and Pedro Pascal, of course. It
yeah.
is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And
It is.
genuinely made me angry watching it. Like not for
Yeah.
this. I watched it for fun before thinking, okay, well, we need to talk about this. And I was angry watching it as entertainment.
And it became, God, we need to talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very, very bad. And,
So if you've not
we
watched
need to
it,
talk about it.
if you've not watched it, don't just listen to this.
Uh-huh.
If you have, you might want to listen to this, and it will point out all of those things that were niggling at you whilst you were watching it, going, "That's not right." And this, why am I feeling a little uneasy watching this? We can explain every single reason why you're feeling uneasy about it in great detail.
Yeah.
So this is our free gift to you for the Christmas season, and there will be a second half of this on New Year's Day.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, keep an eye out for that. And we'll be back in the new year soon after that with, assuming Mark can get his arse in gear, an episode in which we will have swapped roles.
We swap roles.
We'll be doing a Freaky Friday
It's frightening.
and that other one with Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage, with that vice versa, I think it was. Yeah, one of them anyway. 13 going on 30, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
We'll be
Face
doing
off, all of that. Yeah.
So I will be Mark will be me. Everything will be chaotic, and that's in the new year.
Yeah. So, to put that off, enjoy this episode of us deconstructing Wonder Woman 1984.
Life is good, but it can be better.
I want to be the apex predator.
Barbara, what did you do?
The way I fly, they will never find us.
I forgot to tell you.
What?
Radar.
Will they shoot at us? Well, shit, Diana. Does everybody parachute now?
Hello and welcome to our. You keep talking when I do.
I'm sorry, go. Okay, we should record now. Yeah.
Hello
Let's
and
record
welcome
now.
to. Hello and welcome to our breakdown of Wonder Woman 1984. The reason we're doing this is, the reason that we're kind of claiming that we're doing it is because Pedro Pascal's character in the film is kind of Trumpy. He is.
Yeah.
He's a con man TV personality who claims he's brilliant in business but is actually shit, and through sheer greed and will gets himself to be basically the most powerful man in America, and and
gets people to invest in what is his snake oil schemes, and also has unmanageable hair.
Yeah. Yeah, and just is lying all the time to everyone. Yeah. So, in that respect, Trumpy enough for us to cover it.
Yeah.
But really,
that was just the excuse.
Because I saw it, fucking hated it, and wanted to talk about it.
Well, you didn't just hate it. You got you kind of just got really angry.
It's the angriest
Have
the
you
film
seen that
has
film?
made
Yeah, I've
me.
seen that film. I saw it. It just made me angry, and it's
honestly
2.5 hours of anger.
I watch a lot of films. I like films. I don't mind films being not great.
Yeah,
I can still enjoy stuff. I very rarely stop watching something because it's bad.
Yeah,
I will usually persevere with it, so I've got a reasonably high tolerance for shit.
And come away something from it, and you go, oh yeah, no, that I like that bit. I've gained something from it. That's interesting. That was a nice sequence. You know, it's all right.
This film made me angrier and angrier and angrier as I made my way through it, and it's 2.5 fucking hours.
I know.
So that's a lot of time to get angry.
Yeah, and I think part of our watching films habit is that you just stick with it in the hope that it's going to get better. And you kind of think, yet
sometimes something happens in a film that you think, oh, well, that's stupid. But then later on, there's a payoff from it.
If
you stick with it, you can make allowances, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But other times, this happens, and I should say at the very outset here, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. We're basically going to spoil the entire film.
Yeah,
I mean. Spoiling is possibly the wrong word for this film.
Yeah.
We're going to reveal a lot of the stuff that happens. It won't spoil the film in any way, because a film like this can't be made worse.
There's no kind of big, secret treasure chest that we're going to reveal that will ruin the experience for you. What we're doing is relieving you of the experience of having to watch it.
Yeah.
I've watched about a dozen films in the last 3 weeks, maybe, and some I've watched. I haven't watched Snowpiercer yet. I've watched all sorts of things. Which have been a lot of time travel, few Marvel things, and you just kind of tolerate it and go along with it, and you go, oh yeah, that's all right. Aquaman, quite a nice big space opera underwater. And some other thing that was really badly acted, but with a nice plot. And you think, I haven't wasted my time watching it, though, and you think, oh, it's only it'll be over, it'll be like 90 minutes, I'll be done. But this one came away thinking, 2.5 hours? 2.5? What the fuck? I kept watching
and so we decided we'd watch it again and make notes and tell you about it. But I mean, the first time through, I was shouting "fuck off" at the screen by like an hour and a half in, several times.
Oh, that's quite a long time. Oh, okay. Oh, that's quite long.
Yeah, I gave it a chance. To be honest, actually, the second time through,
it was a lot quicker for you.
It wasn't so much that. I mean, there was. I was paying. I don't know if I was paying more attention. I was taking notes, so I was occasionally pausing it and making a note and stuff. And it was. I think it was just more the fact that. From probably somewhere around the halfway mark. Mm-hmm. Everything that happens from that point on is infuriating.
Yeah.
Whereas the first half is kind of, it seems like it's setting up a film not very well. It's setting up it feels like it could be redeemed.
Yeah.
And
so you give it some, you extend some allowance. And think, all right, okay, we'll get past this, and then there'll be the payoff.
But then there's a point where every fucking scene is just more annoying than the last scene.
Well, I thought the second time round watching it,
I've realised that what was the most annoying the first time round was that I wasn't pulled in and, just engaged with it so that you would forgive
boring.
it. So I ended up, not being engaged because there was something about that it wasn't accessible enough, so I kind of crossed the threshold into living within the film.
I think part of it is there's almost no humour in it at all. There's there's a couple of very minor scenes. That are slightly funny in a way, or trying to be funny.
Yeah.
In the first Wonder Woman film, and I have to say the first Wonder Woman film, arguably the best DC extended universe film.
Yeah.
I liked Birds of Prey. Quite enjoyed that. That was all right. Aquaman. Most of the DC films not great.
I went along with Aquaman because I think they did a very good job of engaging you into the universe, which, and then you're thinking, okay, if they can all swim, why are they driving around in underwater cars? And you kind of go, oh, all right. But then towards the end, the magnetron train thing, you're thinking, what the fuck are they doing? So there was a lot of setup which would pull you in, and you go, oh, I quite like this, and you'd forgive the plot holes and the really lame kind of bits, and you think, why are you doing, or is that's actually...
I'm not I should declare, I think probably I speak for both of us, we're not comic book fans, especially. I have absolutely no problem with comic book movies. I
quite enjoy them. Yeah.
And I enjoy the Marvel movies. But we're not we haven't grown up watching or reading the comic books and kind of coming from that perspective. I think the DC universe has arguably more interesting characters. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Aquaman, not really. He's all right, but he's more like there was a Simpsons episode where they took the piss out of Knight Rider with a boat that was sentient, and every crime had to happen close to water. And in the same way, like Aquaman, it's a very limited skill set. That Aquaman has. And the same thing with like Cyborg and other members of the Justice League, but at least Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, the three big ones, are arguably more interesting than any of the Marvel superheroes, really. But Marvel are just so much better at making good films. I'm not really sure what it's about. Why?
I watched Spider-Man Far From Home the other day, and I still quite like the first Spider-Man.
Like the Tobey Maguire one?
Yeah, I quite like that. And then they rebooted it a minute later.
Yeah, so many.
And then they've been rebooting it ever since. And you think, oh, well, that's because Sony own it, so they're just wringing it dry in order to subsidise lots of other Sony-produced movies. And you think, oh, okay, yeah, it's quite nicely done. And, yeah, it's all right. But you just kind of... there's something deeply flawed about the DC Comics characters.
Yeah. When I was... I liked Spider-Man as a kid. As a kid, Spider-Man was my favourite superhero. I remember when I was probably 8 going to a Spanish holiday resort with my parents.
Right.
And... when we arrived, I was obviously in a shitty mood. I was, we'd for some reason, I don't know why, but obviously, we'd been travelling, we'd been on a plane, we'd got to this thing. It was probably late night, and we got to this place. We were checking in, and I remember that for the guy who ran the place, was trying to kind of like get me excited about being there, and let me know that they'd got a kind of cinema thing that you could see, and they had Superman.
Oh wow!
Which at the time was probably just a couple of years old, because it was 1778 Superman came out.
And did you believe a man could fly?
Well, the thing is, I didn't care about Superman because I liked the Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man series.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Have you got a Spider-Man?" Because I was 8 and annoying. And they went,
Just honest
no,
about what you wanted.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't have Spider-Man. So it didn't help my mood at
That
all.
put
I wasn't
the
interested
lid
in Superman.
on the entire holiday. Yeah.
But yeah, so Tobey Maguire, the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was good. I'm not a fan of the second and third ones.
No.
Andrew Garfield ones were shit.
Quite like the dark one, which was a bit like the Dark Spider-Man, where there was like
Venom, the second one.
Yeah. Where there was like the
the second one was Doc Ock, wasn't it? Doc Ock.
Yeah. Well, the one with
Venom.
wasn't it the third one where he
was,
met his nemesis and all that stuff, and it did.
Topher Grace, I think.
There was a great computer game on the Xbox version of
Spider-Man
3.
Awesome
scary
video
as
games.
shit. Yeah.
But the reboot with Andrew Garfield was shit.
Yeah.
Both of those, Amazing Spider-Man, and the but Tom Holland, I like. I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think they've absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed all of his films and his appearances in the various Avengers ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't know where they're going with the next phase of the Marvel movies, but DC,
the original Wonder Woman was really quite good.
Oh, the Linda Carter series.
Yeah, no, I mean the DC film.
The first DC, the first Gal Gadot, I mean, the last act was pretty chaotic, but yes, it was generally a good film.
But you allow them that because you've been. Well,
I mean,
kind of drawn
and
in
there was plenty
taken along.
There was plenty of humour in it. There was Lucy Davis as Etta Candy, and Chris Pine is good. I enjoy. The thing is, I enjoyed the actors. I mean, Gal Gadot. I have no problem watching Gal Gadot for 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Easy on the eye.
Happy with that.
Yeah.
Chris Pine, I think, is good. I enjoy him. He's fine.
Yeah,
he's a reasonable actor. He didn't have a lot to do in this, but he was fine.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal. I feel like he's a good actor, and he was. I mean, I assume it was the direction that he was given in this. He was given a kind of, and it does feel like DC give their villains this. The direction seems to be overact like fuck.
Yeah.
That's just be maniacal is what the villains do in DC movies.
But it's not. And it's easy because they've got one thing to do, when they're baddies. So, like Jake Gyllenhaal in Spider-Man: Far From Home wanted to be Iron Man.
Nuanced, though. That's the thing. He was.
But he had one thing to do, which was to get Iron Man's glasses, and become the new Iron Man. He was kind of. He was a bit aggrieved that he'd been overlooked, and it ought to be him rather than this kid, and worked it all out. He was the Wizard of Oz.
Spoiler for Spider-Man.
Yeah,
when he turned out to be the villain.
Yeah.
He wasn't just a kind of. He still had nuance to his character, even when he went from pretending to be Spider-Man's friend to being the villain. He still. And even like Thanos was still there was some nuance to his character that made you not root for him, but feel like he at least had a good reason in his mind for what he was doing.
And yes, exactly. And it gave you some distance so you were able to step back from the overacting bit and go, oh, well, why? What the fuck? And then you kind of step back a bit and go, oh, okay. And you'd be this nuance would be revealed, and you could sit back in that and get some respite from the madness of that, which would re-engage you with the madness of his maniacal intent. but there was like one thing to do, and it was very clear, and Thanos, who's got this thing about population explosions, let's just get rid of half the whole universe. And but in this
but you don't get that with Lex Luthor or with Ares in Wonder Woman, or with Pedro Pascal, Max Lord.
And you kind of think,
it's just,
and you know that
one note
in the Bond movies, but also I think there's not just one note, but there's a lack of clarity as to what his purpose is. What's his evil plan? In the Bond movies,
massively,
you know what they're going to do. They're going to blow the whole of California off the map, or they're going to, infiltrate the satellite system or whatever, or land people on the moon or whatever.
In the Bond movies, it's a very clearly delineated plan that they have.
Yeah. And you know that there's a time limit.
It's not always clear. It's not always clear how they're going to profit from it, but it's always clear what they want to do.
And therefore you know what Bond's got to do in order to thwart it, and he gets thwarted in the attempts to thwart that, and that's part of the jeopardy. But in this, you don't. You kind of, he gets what he wants, and then keeps wanting more of that?
It's just
what?
Yeah, absolutely. His goal is to be incrementally more powerful than he is at whatever stage he's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like this we're probably not gonna go linearly quite through, but we'll try to deal with it linearly. But I'm feeling there's going to be the bits where we just jump about and talk about different aspects of it. But yeah, if we start with the opening, which is young Diana on Themyscira with the Amazons,
slightly older than young Diana from the last.
Well, yeah, because it's the same actress, which I thought was great that they used Lily Axel again. It's the same young actress. She's very good. She's I mean, believable in that character.
Yeah.
And she is taking part in this kind of physical challenge Olympics type thing that they have.
Hunger Games, gladiators. Yeah.
It's odd that she's taking part in it, because in the first film, her mother was very clear that she wasn't allowed to do any training whatsoever, because the stronger she got, the more easy it would be for Ares to find her.
Yeah.
So she wasn't allowed to do any combat training at all.
Yeah.
So it's surprising that now she's allowed to compete against grown-up Amazons.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. In this, and and kind of looks. So, and it's a brilliant shot where they pan along the other Olympians and who get increasingly taller in order to, make her look even shorter at the end of the list, which is just hilarious. But and you think, well, what's the point of that? Because we get this kind of, and we're into this whole Hunger Games sequence. And you think, what's the point of this? And it's 11 minutes long.
Yeah,
this whole sequence.
For the whole 11 minutes, you're thinking, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the film, you're thinking, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Because, they do this kind of American Ninja Warrior thing.
Yeah.
Where they do jumping and climbing and running along poles and diving from cliff tops and stuff. And it's a ridiculous competition. Yeah. Because it's supposedly for this like amphitheater full of other Amazons, I guess.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of the competition, they can't see anyone because it's done outside of the arena.
But it's also, so you sweep in, and it's a remake of the opening sequences from the previous film, where you get the aerial shots of Wakanda, or whatever, Thermopolis.
Themyscira.
Going across. But then there's this whole new arena, and obviously they run this thing every year, but it wasn't there at all in the first movie, which was,
Yeah.
I don't know, 4 years ago. So maybe
2 years before, yeah.
Yeah. So, but she's more than 2 years older than she was then, because she was like 6 then. She's probably 10 now or something. If it looks like that, anyway.
They were made 2 years years apart. I think that's
right.
Yeah.
So we get basically, but I did notice that the guy that did the visual effects also did the visual effects on Harry Potter, which is why it's the Quidditch arena, and there's a nod to Atlantis as well, because the middle
there is,
bit,
in fact, just before the Olympics bit starts, there's a bit where someone has to grab a ball and chuck it through a hoop thing.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. They're doing this kind of warm-up stuff. It's basically Ben-Hur without the chariots. So they're doing, there's like a leather-bound ball where they chuck it through, and the people run up the thing. They kind of parkour up,
standing on the backs of horses and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and jumping off and all that kind of stuff. And it's basically total Wipeout, but it's made of brass. So there's kind of these big sticky up things and things that swing down and will knock you off, but instead of being made of large kind of rubbery blue covered things with what's his name, Richard phone with Richard Hammond commentating on it, they're made of brass and they will knock you off, and you kind of think and so and in the middle of the arena is like this big stylistic whale skeleton, which is the shape of the arena through which they run. And you think, what? Why wasn't?
And then
hang on, if they do this every year, why didn't we see this 2 years ago?
Well, after they've dived off the thing and into the water, you get this very brief shot of someone like turning a wheel, and everything starts to dissolve back into the ground, basically. So there's obviously some clever system of flats and flies and stuff underneath the sand. Yeah. Because when they come back to the arena at the end, it's totally separate. It's different setup. With the
big hoop. So what I was going to say was, by way of a kind of a general apology, is that when a film doesn't engage you and pull you along, what you end up doing is nitpicking every fucking frame of the whole thing and just going, because there's nothing to prevent you from doing that. So you end up just going, well, hang on a minute. What? So you kind of spot the plot holes.
So welcome to our frame-by-frame nitpick of this film.
Exactly. And I've got in my left-hand column of my notes the frame references. Frame
one.
Exactly. I think that the moral from this whole thing, which is somehow both the foreshadow of the rest of the movie and also the overarching thing to be taken from it, is that, is it about looking forward and not looking back? Because there's a bit where she gets knocked off. She's ahead. She's ahead of the whole thing. It's not like these.
Well, hang on. First of all, they dive into the water.
Yeah.
They swim to the beach.
Yeah.
All of the various athletes, and they get on horses, and then the first thing they have to do is grab a bow and shoot a target with different smoke that goes up for each of the different athletes. I guess the different competitors. There are 7 different coloured smoke firing devices on the target. There are 9 people who start this competition.
Oh, I didn't.
So like Willy Wonka, where his boat only has enough seats for the number of kids who are still alive. And they assume that not everyone is going to make it. We're going to make it to that section. But also in the wide shot where the people are swimming to the beach, there's only 6 horses that are on the beach. So. There's as it turns out, there's only 5 athletes who make it to the point where they get banners falling down in relation to their smoke.
Right, yeah.
But Diana is first. She hits the blue thing.
Because I worked out that the only reason that she, as a 10-year-old, or whatever she is, 8 or something,
Yeah.
is ahead of 20-something-year-old Olympic athletes is down to one thing: editing.
Well, also the fact that she's basically a god.
Yeah,
I mean, that's-
but she kind of swims. She swims along in the swimming bit, and then when she gets out of the water and runs towards the horses, she looks back, and it's like the bit where Indiana Jones is trying to, the door is falling and people are escaping. Every time he looks back, the door is, or the bit in
a little bit further away.
yeah, the bit in Python where John Cleese is running up the road to the castle gates, and then the guards look back and he's running up exactly the same bit. This is massive time. I had to go back and go, wait a minute, she was not that far ahead, and now she's out of the water, she's a lot further ahead, and then when she's on the horse, they're still in the water.
So, and everyone shoots the bit of the target that responds to their colour.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing if you are being generous, that they are not able to miss. They definitely hit where whatever they're aiming at, no matter how shit an archer they are.
Yeah.
Well, it's just basically Amazons never
triathlon, isn't it?
So that means that the archery bits are only to tell the arena how far along the course they are.
Yeah.
But what if someone missed and hit the wrong bit of smoke, or the wrong bit of the target? It would make it seem like another person is ahead in that section. So,
and then when they appeared in the arena. They would say, "Well, you
didn't hit. Yeah, you didn't hit that bit of the.
Or how come you're here when the green smoke didn't go up?
Yeah.
Said, that's because I hit the red smoke. So well, then you failed. But I did quite enjoy the in the way when you watch the Winter Olympics biathlon when they have to ski and shoot and swim and ride a bicycle or whatever it is. There was something quite engaging with that, and I quite liked the. Oh yeah, they've just got to fire the thing through and trigger the smoke, and then somebody on the vertiginous parapet is kind of holding up a flag, and then somebody else lowers a thing, and you think there's too much going on there, because if somebody mistimes it. Yeah. They would lower the flag at the wrong time and they wouldn't be in the lead. And so
it's also not that exciting for the arena people to watch.
No,
they're just waiting.
It's not relayed
for them to get back.
A big screen or anything. Yeah. And it is filled with any amount of moments that could be misinterpreted as cheating. Because at one point, Diana misses the chance to shoot at something because she falls off her horse. So if the moral is to look ahead and not look back, then she's failed because at one point she looks round and gets walloped by a branch as she's riding under it with the horse because she isn't looking forward, and then gets knocked off things. So she kind of... So there's this moment in the path. So the path snakes down, as paths do, snake down left and right down the mountain. But obviously there's a water. There's always an air duct. There's a water channel,
type thing.
Down which one can slide in your onesie, in your spandex suit, which is going to abrade the back of it, surely. But she kind of goes down this thing through the tunnel, catches up with the horse in a very Buster Keaton kind of way. And they know about this because later on her mother grabs her.
Well, because she hasn't.
The trainer grabs her and says, "You took the short way."
Yeah.
Because she
didn't fire the target. That's right. Yeah.
But she could.
Because she didn't go the full route.
Yeah.
But it's like it's like if you're doing a marathon and you don't go through all the checkpoints.
Or a rally and you fail.
There was a woman who did, I think it was the Boston Marathon, who took the subway from one part of the marathon to another part and ended up And initially, and this was before RFID. Now they have RFID people,
Right.
People who run marathons. They have chips in their numbers that they have on their tabards, that tracks you around the course. But this was in the, I want to say, 90s probably.
Yeah.
And she basically ended up, I don't know if she won or she came like fourth or something like that, but they thought, well, this person's never run a marathon before at all.
Yeah.
So it seems unlikely.
Yeah. So they get all round. She rejoins the horse, gets back into the arena first, but the flag and the smoke and all that stuff.
She grabs a javelin to throw.
Yeah.
But yeah, her trainer stops her and says, "No, you didn't complete the course. You took a shortcut.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. You cheated. Truth is the only thing that matters. And that's all there is."
So we're all kind of set up with cheaters never prosper.
Yeah. So that
you can only win when you're ready to win.
She says no true hero is born in lies.
Yeah.
And that is taking the piss for a number of reasons. Because first of all, literally her origin story in the first film is a lie.
Yeah.
When her mum tells her that she was moulded from clay and then Zeus breathed life into her, and then it's revealed that actually Zeus was her father. And also, as Diana Prince, she's literally lying all the time about who she is.
Yeah.
That's all she does all the time, is lie about, she is pretending not to be an immortal Amazon or a demigod. She's pretending to be a regular person all the time.
Yeah, and we know that for the last 70 years in this film, she's been doing that.
There's also there's a whole thing in the first film about Steve Trevor being a spy. And she's saying, well, this is because she's just come from Themyscira. She's saying this is bad. You're a liar, basically, or this person is a liar. That's negative. And he's like, well, I'm a liar. Basically, I pretend to be other people. Isn't that also bad? And introducing that nuance and saying, sometimes there's a reason for pretending to be someone else or lying about who you are or whatever. And Steve is obviously not a bad person, and so. He is the hero who was born in lies by being a spy. She is a hero who was not only born in lies but constantly lies all the time.
Lives in lies. Yeah.
So it kind of takes the wind out of the sails of that argument, I think. But yes, the entire point of this 11-minute intro is don't cheat. That's all you get from it.
Yeah.
And it comes back briefly at the end of the film, and otherwise it needn't be there.
Yeah, and we can't. Well, apart from the fact that that's the moral stance that we're supposed to take in order to know that Pedro Pascal's Trump, Max Lord, is a cheat and therefore the baddie.
Yeah, but almost everyone in the world cheats. In that respect, in that sense of cheating, and the whole thing at the end is Diana saying, don't cheat. Truth is all that's important. Bullshit, it is.
Yeah,
because people haven't necessarily been selfish in their wishes or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's just the idea that no matter how generous, unselfish, or useful, or world-saving, or world peace-generating your wishes may be, it's a shortcut, and truth is better. Fuck off.
Yeah. I've just been watching The Good Place, and so
fucking brilliant series. I love that series.
Great, and the whole point of that is. I'm revisiting the moral philosophy that I learned when I was at university, and B, it's how important is truth? Mm-hmm. If you're able, is there such a thing as a white lie, or is there such a thing as is it wrong to tell the tell a lie, or is it actually more wrong or less bad to tell the truth, or is it more bad? And it's very, very funny. And
how far are you into it?
I'm episode 8, where she has just told Ted Danson
of season 1.
Yeah, where she's told Ted Danson she's the problem.
Do you know any of the spoilers? Any of the stuff that happens?
No.
You've got such a lot of brilliant, wonderful stuff to come.
Oh, cool.
It is so... I'm not going to tell you anything, but it is fucking brilliant. The number of different directions that series goes in from where you are right now is outstanding. Mm-hmm. So enjoy that.
They've just killed the computer, whatever her name is.
Janet, yeah.
They've just murdered Janet.
Oh, it is.
Which they thought was the way
brilliant.
to stop Ted Danson having to retire because she operates the train. And then as soon as the moment they do, the big thing comes up and says, "Janet, I have been murdered.
I have been
murdered." Yeah. So it's great.
But and enjoy, because there's so much to come in that series.
Yeah, and it's just but that whole kind of the moral dilemma thing is the bedrock of that series. And where it's nuanced, and then they do the flashbacks, even to the guy who's the moral philosophy lecturer, who didn't tell the guy he hated his boots, and you kind of go, well, yeah, you see, there is such a thing as a white lie, because it saves somebody else's feelings, and you think, oh, okay, so that series has got more integrity than this film, despite the fact that they set Diana up as being the one who is the bastion of truth. But So 11 minutes in.
So 11 minutes in, we finished that sequence in Themyscira.
And our mother says
there is a ratio change, which is weird.
Yes, I spied that. I did go
and
back.
I'm not sure why.
I was watching it on VLC, and I just went back and I thought, I need to re-watch that. So hang on, have I got it wrong? Do I need to force the aspect ratio? But no.
No, it's not clear why. It goes from like 16:9 to 2:35 to 1, or CinemaScope, essentially, to move into the 80s, which is odd, because the 80s, if anything, were a 4:3 era. They were. I mean, CinemaScope did not define that era. It had come in the post-war period for cinema, and I mean, really, it would be a much easier argument to make for making it 4:3, because it would be relating to the 70s/80s TV show.
Yeah.
I've got no explanation for why they chose to make that 16:9 to CinemaScope.
Is it because
transition.
The previous stuff was the past and this is now the present?
I mean, I guess, but
because we're greeted with,
it's not like we flash back and use that ratio again or anything.
No,
it doesn't seem to be a reason for it. I mean, I have no problem with that kind of thing, and it's been used in films before to denote different eras, but it's an odd transition to make it to the 80s.
But before we even get to that point, there's a bit where her trainer says the world is not yet ready for all that you do, and then we kind of go to the titles, and we see Wonder Woman in the previous film. The transition from the past to the future, she jumps. She's in Paris in 2017.
Yeah, in Wonder Woman. Yes.
Yeah, doing a big jump. She can't fly.
No.
And that bit of the film is set after the rest of this film. Paris 2017.
Yeah. And all of Justice League and the bit that she's in Batman versus Superman. That's all after this film.
That's like now. 21st century, she can't fly.
And in those films, it's made very clear that she has had no impact on the human race in the 100 years between World War I and those films.
Yeah.
She feels guilty about it. It's a plot point. Bruce Wayne.
What the fuck have you been up to?
Bruce Wayne is a super genius for tracking her down and proving that she's immortal, because no one has heard anything of her in between World War One and 2017.
Yeah. Which would explain a lot of what happens shortly. Yeah. Because I was going, well, wait a minute. What about even things like the 6 Days War, given that a lot of this is set in the Middle East? Yeah. So the bit where we are treated to CinemaScope, the voiceover says, "Welcome to the future." And you kind of go, ha, that's clever, because we're actually in the past. And a jogger goes past a Budweiser billboard. This is where we get into frame by frame. She runs past, which is a 1980s Budweiser ad with women in bathing suits. And then we get to see a banker with a brick phone, and we hear that the voiceover of Welcome to the Future is Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord saying, "You can have it. All you got to do is dream it." So we're in the world of yuppies, making a quick buck and excess. And then we get shoulders over the sweaters, pack of Marlboro, a Trans Am.
Yeah, so this sequence,
Vice.
which leads into a Wonder Woman foiling a mall heist, lasts for 7 minutes.
Easy for you to say. Yeah.
And in that 7 minutes,
to what end? Yeah,
you get almost all of the 80s references in the film.
Yeah,
this is where they cram in 80s fashion, 80s like leggings, Walkmans, cars, TVs, adverts. They smush as much 80s stuff together in this bit. So they don't have to bother with it for the rest of the film. The rest of the film might as well not be set in the 80s.
Yes, doesn't need to be.
There's almost nothing 80s about this film other than this 7-minute sequence.
Yeah.
This is like spandex and bright colours and stuff like that. And it's like after this bit, they just forgot it was supposed to be the 80s. There's basically no 80s music on the soundtrack, which is a fucking crime, because what an opportunity to have a great soundtrack.
Well, except for the party.
I mean, Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, which incidentally was released after this film was set, because the film was set in July 1984, and that single didn't come. The album.
I think it's
that's Welcome to the Pleasure Dome didn't come out until October, but the single didn't come out until the following May.
But I think the single is Two Tribes.
No, the single is Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, and it didn't come out until March of 1985. And the album came out in October of this year, so it shouldn't have been playing at that party.
Yeah.
There's also
the computer game came out on the Commodore 64, which was the reason I bought a Commodore 64.
What computer game was that?
Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Oh right, okay.
There was a computer game where where all the little iconography that Paul Morley invented for the album, that was the iconography in the computer game. But the soundtrack was brilliant.
That song is basically the only recognisable 80s song.
Yeah.
And it was after the film was set. There's 2 songs by Gary Newman in the film. They're in the end credits. I didn't hear them in the film. I don't know where they played. They were both from the 70s. So waste of fucking time.
Exactly,
and one of them is credited to Gary Newman, spelt incorrectly, Newman. And there's also apparently Rio by Duran Duran is in there as well. I didn't hear that, but it's in the credits.
No, I mean there's a piss take later on where they're doing the dressing up sequence.
Yeah. But there's such a lot of fucking iconic 80s music they could have had in the film. It could have been a properly 80s music driven film.
It's not like they didn't have a budget.
No. $200 fucking million they spent on this film. They could have afforded a few 80s classic tracks.
Where did it go?
I don't know. Not on the CGI.
No. Well, that's because they saved money using the Cats CGI generators, but that's to come later on. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a crime that they did not use a good 80s soundtrack. They had literally Rio and Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, the only two 80s tracks in the film. Adagio in D is used more than any 80s track.
They could have had Girls Just Want to Have Fun. They could have so many bloody things. Yeah,
well, how did
exactly.
we get onto the music? I don't even know.
That was that. It was because that 7-minute section is the only.
Oh yeah, the 7-minute section. Everything 80s was crammed into there.
Yeah,
and basically it felt to me like the only reason they set it in the 80s was to have an excuse for every single male character to sexually objectify every single female character. And it not feel super fucking weird.
Yeah.
It felt like you were supposed to feel, that's just how it was then.
Yeah. It's like when you get that warning ahead of a program on the TV when it says, aspects of this program reflect the time in which it was recorded.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, oh, okay, right, we're in that territory. So you've got to go, oh yeah, well, times were different then. You can't get away with that these days.
All that allowed to happen, basically, was for Kristen Wiig's character to be sexually harassed and fight back when she got her powers, basically.
Yeah.
Absent of that, I don't know any reason why any of the men in the film were constantly telling the women in the film they looked good and commenting on how they looked and looking them up and down and fucking them with their eyes, basically.
Yeah.
There's no other reason for it to be there, and that was the only reason the film seemed to be set in the 80s.
Yeah, and you kind of think there was a moment when I kind of laughed, thinking this is like a John Derek movie. It's that kind
absolutely.
It's that sort of basic, really badly misogynist premise upon which is based. The whole thing with the Barbara character being Clark Kent, basically. If you wear no one makes passes at girls who wear glasses, and they don't in the bit because we kind of, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
There's a bit like 12 minutes.
I should say, incidentally, we're an hour into recording. I'll have edited this a bit, so it'll be less than that. But
we're 12 minutes.
This is a 2.5 hour film. We're an hour into recording us talking about it, and we're dealing with minute 12.
I did tell you. Yeah. So you pull up a chair. Yeah.
Strap in.
But there is there's this bit where the kids come out. It was quite a nice little set-up sequence. It's almost Back to the Future-esque. There's a brilliant computer game from the 90s called The Incredible Machine, where things kind of do things to other things, and you have to kind of put the right bit in, and things lead on inevitably, but amusingly along the way. So
like a Rube Goldberg type thing.
Exactly that, yeah. So the kids in the sunglasses hut, or whatever the 80s equivalent of, they're trying on glasses, they steal them, run out of the store, bump into a bride who is having a picture taken on a bridge, who gets knocked over the parapet, and so Wonder Woman saves the bride with her whip, but she doesn't admonish the kids who steal the sunglasses.
No. The kids, the shoplifters get away. The weird thing is, the worst that would have happened to that bride is she would have got wet.
Yeah.
It wasn't a high bridge. She would have just fallen in a river. Yeah. That's as bad as it got. Whereas just before that, to stop a jogger who was who had right of way on a walkway, being knocked over by a car, Wonder Woman kicked a Trans Am as it was speeding towards the walkway, out of control. She had no way of knowing how well the driver would control that skid. That could have been incredibly dangerous.
Yeah. So, but truth.
But yeah, she
out.
saved the bride from getting wet.
Yeah,
and let the shoplifters
kids
get away.
Get away, and then suddenly, I can't remember how, but is that the point at which we meet the baddies?
Then we're in the mall. Then we're in the mall, and
which is basically
met some men watch some women doing like aerobics in spandex.
But we're in the Star Court shopping
bending
mall
over.
from Stranger Things.
Yes, absolutely. And
which is a much better 80s reference.
as 80s mall as you can get. And then there's an arcade where they have Operation Wolf, which didn't come out until 1987, and Rampage, which didn't come out until 1986.
Rampage. I love Rampage.
Yeah.
Which is
Operation Wolf was great as well. Great.
Oh yeah,
great.
Rampage is what was that? Was it a Pixar thing? No, I think it's a DreamWorks thing. Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah. Such a good movie. And that was properly 80s. But the thing in the Star Court stuff, the Star Court shopping mall, which was in Stranger Things, you go, oh, this is a Star Court shopping mall because there's a star on the floor. You go, no, it isn't. It's the Southfields Mall on the label, but actually it's filmed at the Landmark Mall in Alexandria in Fairfax County, Virginia. So we're in the right thing because later on we see a Fairfax County police car arrive. But in 1984, it wasn't a covered mall. It wasn't a covered mall until 1990. It was an open-air mall up until that point. So, yeah, and the reason they used it is because it closed down in
I'm sure that mall's
2018.
been in a couple of other shows as well. I'm sure that.
Oh, doubtless.
I feel like I've seen that mall before.
I've got a feeling Stranger Things was probably shot there. Yeah,
possibly. Yeah. There's a couple of guys with guns who walk into a jewelry store.
Yeah. Oh, we get an advert. We get to see a bit more of the whole of the voiceover.
Oh, we get Maxwell Lord. Yeah, we get Maxwell Lord saying how
who's redoing the Duran Rio video as part of the misogynist continuance. He's on a yacht with women saying you can. We're basically in yuppie territory. It's just fuck everybody else. Just make lots of money. Yeah,
you don't need basically.
You don't need a pile of money or some business degree to get started. He says you don't even have to work for it, and you kind of go, "Oh, hello, Trump." Yeah, that's where we're at. So So these baddies come in. You could tell they're baddies because they've rolled their sleeves up of their jackets on top of their shirts, and they've got baddies' hair, and they rob the jewellery store, but they go, we're not interested in the stuff in the front, we want the stuff in the back, which is straight out of Men in Black, isn't it? Where they go into the
yeah, because apparently this jewellery store is a front for some kind of black market organisation.
Yeah, which is all
that
carefully hidden away. Yeah. It's all carefully hidden away. In a room.
So they go and fill their bags with this stuff.
Yeah. Well, and in the back,
and then they come out,
we get a glimpse of in a Hitchcockian kind of way. We
the
get
wishing stone, the dream stone.
But we don't get it in close up.
Yeah.
We just get a long shot.
No.
That's what irritates me about this thing. It's all in pretty much in long shot. It's a bit like the Popeye movie with Robin Williams, which was pretty much shot in wide shot and long shot. And the whole thing, I'm peering into the screen, leaning and going, what is that? What is that? And so you're never quite clear. You get lots of, but no close up. So you don't know what the fuck it is. So, yeah.
And the weird thing is there's 4 people in this crew of robbers.
Yeah.
There's 2 guys who go into the jewellery store and go and show them guns and go into the back, leaving the people who work in the jewellery store like just in the store.
Yeah.
They both just go into the back on their own and start filling their bags with antiquities. The 2 other guys are outside of the jewellery store.
Yeah.
Just hanging around.
When
waiting.
They swap the bags, nobody will know what the original robbers will look like.
There's no reason for there to be 4 guys. Because the 2 guys who come out just give their bags to the other guys.
Yeah. In that kind of classic handoff thing.
But So
But
what?
the people in the shop
doesn't make
know
any- it's not
exactly
like-
what
yeah.
they look like. Yeah.
There's no
You go,
sense.
That's
there's no,
not how
there's
you
no
do
sense
robbing.
at all to them giving them to the other people.
No.
And then one of the guys who's handed a bag
It's the
drops
stupid
his
one.
gun
Yeah.
in the most awkward way possible. It's basically, if he just stood in the centre of the shopping mall and yelled, "We're stealing stuff," it would have been more believable.
Yeah.
There's no logic to the way he drops his gun. He just he's given the bag and then he loses the ability to walk. Basically,
or hold
anything
at the same time.
Yeah. He suddenly decides it's time to tuck his shirt in or something, and his gun is tucked in his waistband, and somehow that makes him drop his gun. And someone yells, gun.
My other half watching stuff when she can't stand either what's going on because it's too scary, or she can't understand what's going on, she will just kind of go, well, it's not realistic. And I have to point out, it's fiction. But this was one of the many moments where at 17 minutes, where we go, well, that's not, what the fuck has just happened?
I mean, there has to be some kind of internal theme or logic or through line or sense. And at this point, it feels this sequence just before Wonder Woman turns up and for a few moments after feels a bit like the kind of 1970s Superman, the Donner, Richard Donner Superman. It feels like that kind of slightly campy, slightly silly, not taking itself too seriously. Comedy superhero film.
It tries to strike that note several times.
It's like the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor with Richard Pryor. It's not supposed to be serious.
Yeah.
But that isn't the theme. That isn't the feeling of the rest of the film. This isn't setting that sense up for the rest of the film. That's just this scene. And it's very, I mean, I would say it winks at the camera, but fucking Gal Gadot literally winks at the camera.
Yeah.
A couple of times in this scene.
With the wrong eye.
Yeah.
Kind of with the wrong eye.
But this is almost taking the piss.
Yeah.
And it's not setting the scene. It's not setting up the way that they are trying to make this film.
Yeah. And you kind of when you
the
watch,
level at which it's taking itself seriously.
When you watch the Roger Moore's James Bond in Moonraker, you know it's high camp.
Absolutely.
And you kind of watch it, and you've got Richard Keel's Jaws, who meets his, the girlfriend with the braces and stuff, and you just know it's high camp from the word.
This is 1960s Adam West Batman, and the rest of the film is trying to be The Dark Knight Rises. It's just weirdly inconsistent.
Yeah.
So then Wonder Woman turns up because the people have guns now, and I mean the guy that first of all the bad guys run up the down escalator for some reason to get away from the guards who have guns, and the guy who dropped his gun, who's obviously the stupidest of the criminals, drops his bag full of antiquities and grabs like an 8-year-old girl and dangles her over the balcony of the top level of the shopping mall.
Yeah.
What is his plan?
Saying, I'm not going to go back.
I'm not going back, yeah.
And then everybody, including the other baddies, say, oh, no, that's a bad thing. Don't do that.
What are you doing, you fucking idiot, basically, is what they're going with.
It's kind of setting up the jeopardy.
But what is his plan?
Quite. I mean, are they going to go, all right then, no problem, we'll let you get away with whatever it is we don't know that you're doing?
I mean, he is, at that point, completely stuck to that spot that he's in.
Yeah,
because
he's got the kid.
Because even if the guards put their guns away and say, okay, we'll let you leave, at some point he has to he has to either drop the kid,
Yeah.
or bring the kid back over the balcony to safety so that he can walk away. At which point, they've got no reason not to take their guns out again.
Yeah.
There's no.
He hasn't got his gun. We know he hasn't got his gun.
Yeah. And he picked up his gun when he dropped it, so I don't know why he didn't threaten someone with his gun. But there's I can't see any logic to him dangling a kid over the balcony. He's not Michael Jackson. There's no other reason for doing it.
And she's not Blanket.
No.
So just get over it. But then, it's basically to allow her to swoop in.
Yes. So at this point, Wonder Woman appears.
Yeah.
And she lands from above, which I'm sure they're on the top floor already.
Yeah, where she come from.
She swoops in from above, grabs the kid.
Yeah.
And apparently
at the end
now,
of her whip.
the lasso of truth now in this film does whatever you need it to do in any given scene.
Yeah, in a Spider-Man kind of way.
It's no longer a useful swinging implement and a truth serum type device.
Yeah.
It does whatever you need it to do. It is a deus ex machina.
Yeah, and it's independent of because she whips it around the kid, dumps the kid on a rocking horse several floors below, and then my note at this point was, how does she get the whip to undo from around the guy she's wrapped it round 3 times?
Not clear. She also swings upwards from the floor to the third floor.
Yeah.
On it.
It's
somehow.
not Indiana Jones, is it? You
There's
can't
no.
go, it's not Indian is, whipping the thing so he can jump across a chasm and barely make it. It just undoes itself from the far end.
But she
3 times around a fat bloke.
She wraps the fat bloke up a few times.
Yeah.
And from the point at which she unwraps him and then does lots of other stuff.
Yeah.
He is still writhing on the floor as if he's wrapped in the lasso. He at no point now gets up.
Goes, I'm free now.
For the rest of the scene, he is now lying on the floor pretending there is a CGI rope around him. Because as far as that actor is concerned, they're probably going to put a CGI rope around him the entire time.
For the entire shot, yeah. And meanwhile, she's done the thing with her boomerang tiara and taken out 3 cameras, quite spectacularly, and which are looking at and then most of the action takes place elsewhere, and you think, well, wait a minute, she's not Men in Black with one of those memory flashy things. What about all the people that have seen what she? Yeah.
She's trying to avoid anyone knowing that she's there, but also that's not how cameras work.
No.
First of all, the cameras have already seen her, and secondly,
and everybody else in the mall.
The footage isn't stored in the cameras.
Yeah. And everybody else can see what's happening from the moment she smashed the cameras.
Everyone knows who she is.
The reporters arrive outside. Yeah. But then there's this nice, so she thwarts the geezers, winks at the camera with the wrong eye, and then John McClane's all the baddies on the top of a squad car.
Sends a guy through some kind of large drum, which then causes him to comically spin on a hoop thing. Which
he's not made any more of.
No.
Other than that,
saves a little girl from getting shot, which the girl finds hilarious.
Teddy bears, not just one teddy bear, a whole stack of teddy bears,
and breaks the guns and so on, and drops the 4 criminals wrapped up in some kind of banner from such a height that it crushes a police car. Yeah. But the 4 criminals are completely uninjured.
They're fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it isn't Die Hard. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Where even if the guy wasn't dead, he would be when he hit the squad car. Yeah. And then when the reporter outside the mall is on the TV and he says, "Who exactly even stopped this crime?" And my note there is, why is even in there?
Yeah.
Why didn't he just say who exactly stopped this crime?
Yeah.
Why did he put
says,
even in there?
This mystery woman, who all of the witnesses have described,
Seen, yeah,
has been seen more than 6 times, more than half a dozen times in DC in the last year.
yeah.
So she's doing a fucking terrible job of maintaining her secrecy.
And he's a really bad reporter, not just for putting even in there, but also, has he not spoken to any eyewitnesses? Because we know there were several dozen.
Also, there would definitely be footage from the CCTV cameras.
Up until the moment she smashed the thing. Quite. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I think the whole reason they set it in Virginia, in Fairfax, in Alexandria, where the mall is just so that they can do a DC reference.
Uh-huh.
The whole thing is because this is a DC comic, so let's set it in the DC area. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no other reason.
Well, the whole thing is set in most of the film is set in DC. Diana lives in DC. She works at the Smithsonian DC Area Museum, and a lot of it is based around the White House and all that stuff. So
whole point, just the DC reference. That was it. And I was that from that reporter's bit. I also put, well, has she been using her God-given godlike powers to fight street-level friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man type crimes this whole time for 70 years? Or why is she
apparently, I mean, later on,
6 times?
Later on, she tells Steve that she gives everything of herself all the time, basically, for the world. You know, she helps people all the time. That's all she does. Why can't she have this one thing for herself, which is Steve? So apparently, all the time she's not working at the Smithsonian, she is being Wonder Woman and fighting crime. And apparently has only been cited 6 times in a year, and not enough for it to be recognisable in future films.
Or even previous films.
Previous films set in the future.
Because the next scene is her apartment, and we see her in shadow, in costume, go by, which leaves us with the shot of Steve's watch on the side, shot of Steve, a picture of her apparently liberating Auschwitz.
With some prisoners from Auschwitz,
but nothing else.
There's a picture of her at the Trevor Ranch, which is never made clear whether it's just a ranch that she owns that she named after him, or if it's like his family ranch. I don't know. But then I'm thinking, well, okay, what about the Korean War? So since 1918, at least we've had the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, Six-Day War in the Middle East, done something.
The Falklands War,
Patty Jenkins, who was the director of both this and and Wonder Woman, also she didn't write Wonder Woman. She didn't co-write it. She co-wrote this. And she's not necessarily a bad writer. She wrote Monster with Charlize Theron. So she can obviously write. I mean, that was based on a true story, but it still required some writing ability. So it's the fact that these 2 films have the same director. It does make it a bit of a conundrum why that one worked
and that was
and this one doesn't. You mentioned that of the first 2 sequences, the Themyscira and the mall, Warner Brothers wanted her to cut at least one of those sequences, if not both of them, and she refused basically. So it wasn't that there was studio interference that led to this film being shit. It was that the studio tried to interfere, and Patty Jenkins insisted that they needed all of these bits, and they were worth having.
Because I think the previous film is definitely at the heart of it is the love story between her and Chris Pine. It's a kind of a bit like it's a bit like The Tempest, insofar as the heart of The Tempest is an alien person arriving on an island, falling in love with the woman in that case. So it's Miranda, and so it's the kind of reverse of that, where he arrives on her island. Well, perhaps it's the same. Perhaps it is The Tempest, and he falls in love with her, she falls in love with him, and then she goes back to his world and then changes his world. Whereas this one, she's already in this misogynist 80s world, and actually doesn't do anything to change it.
They did their best to make it a distaff version of the first film, in terms of her being a fish out of water in the first film, and him now needing to figure out the 80s from his perspective.
Too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did basically a gender swap on the first film from the perspective of the elements that were, what is this civilization all about thing. But yeah, it was nowhere near enough. It was a small aspect of this film, which
there's no core. I don't know what the core is of this. You know, Pedro Pascal's doing his best in that thing that we've long identified. You know, the kind of making the best of a good performance stuck in a bad film. You know, when he's doing his utmost to kind of give this guy some sort of 3D, but he actually does a better job in The Mandalorian when he spends most of it behind a helmet. You can't see his face. He's making a better performance. As I said earlier, I think he's a good actor, but I don't like his performance here. And I think it's the cause of the director. But a lot of people have said he's the best thing about this film, and I mean, if anything, I think that's how bad the film must be.
That says a lot more about the film than about his performance. I think I don't like his characterization of Max Lord. I don't think he did a good job. I think he did his best with what he was given. And I think I haven't seen The Mandalorian, but I've seen him in other stuff. He was in a couple of series of The Mentalist. He was good in that. He's been in a few things that I've enjoyed him in, and I have no reason to assume that he deliberately overacted here. I think that was his instruction.
His brief.
And I disagree with the people who think he was the best thing in it. I think. Yeah. I mean, it's to be honest.
Was he the least worst? I
it's
think
a good
Chris
question.
Pine actually is probably the least worst.
I think Chris Pine is inoffensive in this film. I think that's the most that can be said about it.
That probably made everything else is quite offensive. Yeah,
I think. Well, possibly.
What about Kirsten Wiig as well?
I think she was. I enjoyed parts of her performance.
Yeah.
I thought she did awkward very well.
We're 18 minutes. She hasn't even arrived.
No,
yet.
I know. Yeah,
but yeah,
I think she played the awkward Barbara Minerva very well.
Yeah.
I don't know if she had what it needed to play the tough Barbara Minerva or Cheetah.
I quite like the punky version for like the Suicide Squad version. You kind of go, that's interesting. And then the Cheetah one.
I think I'm probably swayed by my just hormones into thinking Gal Gadot was the best thing in the film. I'd probably just watch Gal Gadot whatever she did. I don't mind.
I know, but
I don't mind looking at her. I minded looking at a lot of the rest of this film.
But that's the thing about the previous version, is you're deliberately challenged by that. You look at her in that and you go, oh yeah, she's quite easy on the eye as an Amazon warrior. And you go, but then you're taken out of that and you're made to feel shame that's the limit of your view, and actually it becomes a feminist vehicle in that regard. You've got to move beyond just looking at her.
She was not only great to look at in the first one, she was a really interesting character, coming from an interesting perspective, and having a different take on the situation that was happening, the war basically, as Steve saw it from his perspective, and as the British saw it, and all of that. And she drove the action more than she does in this film.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a 63-minute segment in this film where Wonder Woman doesn't appear. In this Wonder Woman film.
Yeah.
Between the 18 minutes after the mall sequence to the point where they're in Cairo and she has to flip a truck, basically. Yeah. There isn't any fucking Wonder Woman in this Wonder Woman film for over an hour.
Yeah.
I think you'd be hard pushed to find another superhero film where the superhero doesn't where there's an hour or more where the superhero isn't in the film.
A whole film length, almost an entire length of a film. Yeah, because that's the thing. Because in those moments in other superhero films, there's the anticipation that at any moment the superhero's got to appear, or that the person that we know is the superhero and nobody else does is dying to be the superhero but has to keep that thing under wraps. So that's the jeopardy. There is none of that.
Yeah. In the first one, because she was having trouble hiding the fact that she was Wonder Woman because she didn't understand the London of the early war,
1910s.
Yeah. She was constantly Wonder Woman. She was, she was, even when she was in a dress shop trying on dresses, she had her armour on and her shield and her sword and stuff, and was ready for action. And then when they were being pursued by a spy or an agent, and they'd figured out that Steve Trevor was a spy, there was a fight in London in an alley and stuff, and she was using her bulletproof gauntlets. There was she as a character continually pushed the others to move towards a resolution. She continually pushed them to move towards finding Ares, finding the front line of the war and stopping it, and doing everything they could to bring the evil chemist lady to justice and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that isn't happening in this. It's more of a kind of, it's like a really slow chase scene. It's like there's the funniest bit of the Magic Roundabout movie is where Brian the Snail is I can't remember if it's a bomb or it's something else, but Brian has to run away from something, and he's a snail, so he moves really slowly. But it's hilarious because he's supposed to be running as fast as he can, and that's what it fucking feels like in this film. It's like they are chasing Max Lord, and he is just a guy. He has no powers. Wonder Woman could defeat him fucking easily in a fight at any moment. But they spend 2.5 hours trying to get to him, and the artificial obstacles that are put in her way are just frustrating. They're not interesting or useful or plot driven or
convincing.
No, it's just continually frustrating.
Yeah, you're not engaged with the immense amount of cunning or intelligence or sheer brute strength that she needs to use. I mean, even in the most baroque, theatrical, overblown bits in Spider-Man: Far From Home, where he's fighting Jake Gyllenhaal, you're kind of thinking, oh my God, he's just like, he's running out of web, or he's going to get blatted by a bit of London Bridge or anything. And you think, oh no, you're there with him, trying to muster up, and just watching it, you're going, oh yeah, what about if you do that? What if you do that? But you get none of that. You're not involved in it at all. Most of the time you're spent, I was spent just observing what's going on and kind of thinking, well, and maybe that's where my thought that this is all happening in long shot comes from, because I suspect that it isn't, or maybe it is, but it just feels like I'm watching it from afar. I'm not bound up in it. That's even
I mean,
even
the pacing was if anything worse than the dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the big fight in the White House, which is like way down the pike, you kind of think, well, that I just don't get it. I'm watching it going, I've seen all this in West Wing.
Yeah.
Or no, even more, I've seen this in the recent insurrection.
Yeah, absolutely.
That had more action in it. There was people filming windows being broken on Capitol Hill on their phones was more engaging than that fight sequence.
The sad thing is there's such a lot to hate about this film. It's
yeah. It is sad.
So we
not
at
least
this point,
because we are. She's got back. She's changed out of her costume, got into civvies, gone off to a restaurant where there's a guy. We met with the restaurant. There's a guy walking across the road holding a rose. Yeah, and he doesn't give it to her.
Apropos of nothing.
She's sitting apropos of nothing. It's not a Valentine's Day or anything. It's not February, because it's at least June when Two Tribes came out, or May the following year.
It was October when Welcome to the Pleasure Zone came out. Yeah,
exactly.
But this is pre-July 4th.
And the waiter, that's really cruel. When the waiter says, "Are you waiting for someone?" And she said, "No, it's just me." And he takes away the other bit on her.
Yeah,
table.
But that's the entire point of that scene.
Yeah. And it's a massive scene with many people and a lot of tracking, very expensive.
The whole point of the scene of her sitting in a restaurant outside is that she isn't having dinner with anyone.
It did remind me, I went to Rome on my own for a weekend and went to a restaurant, and as you go in, they just go, "Just the one of you," in Italian, and you go, "See," and they
just one cornetto,
just one cornetto, and they give it to me, and they sit down and they make no beef about it. They certainly made a beef about this, and then obviously what she does is look up to the sky, at which point an airplane flies by, and she thinks about Chris Pine. She pines for Chris, and
because he's a pilot. So
have you been doing this for 70 years? Surely someone must have come along in that time that looked a little bit like Chris Pine. William Shatner, for instance, in the 60s.
She knew him.
Caught your eye.
She knew him for about 5 days.
15 minutes. Yeah. She talked about him in this one as my boyfriend.
That's
and you go, wait a minute, what? No, nobody used that language in 1918. But it's a bit like Matter of Life and Death. He's a kind of pilot.
Yeah, one of the weird things is later on when they're flying together, she's like, "Oh, this flying always makes me think of you." I'm not sure they flew together in the first film. I think he flew them probably as a group to Germany. But that's it. It wasn't like flying wasn't a big bit of the first film. They were mostly working their way in Germany from the place where they got dropped off to the front line and then into the chateau and then had a party and stuff. And they did stuff in London with Etta Candy and getting dresses and kind of going into Parliament and stuff. But flying...
Pretty much on the ground.
Yeah, the flying bit, the piloting bit, mostly the thing that he did was sacrifice himself at the end of the film. And she wasn't there. She was busy fighting Ares at the time. It's weird that just because he's a pilot, she's like, oh, every time I fly or every time I see a plane, that's like...
I'll think of you.
Yeah.
And you go, you're obsessing. He's been not on Earth, dead, for longer than he was alive.
70 years.
70 years.
Yeah.
There have been plenty of other handsome pilots.
People remarry. People have relationships that are really, really important to them.
She wasn't even married.
Because
somebody died. Certainly a lot of people in the First World War that happened to.
Yeah. It's like in Terminator when Linda Hamilton says to in her voice message to John, in the the time that we were together, we only knew each other a few days, but we loved a lifetime's worth. Yeah. And that's kind of sweet. But that doesn't mean that once Reese is dead, she never met another man.
Or even even it would be forgivable even if she found someone that looked a bit like Chris Pine, like a young William Shatner, for instance. That's the problem. Anyone she did meet, she would outlive anyway. Which is the whole plot of Forever Young. Exactly. Yeah. Where they kind of, and you go, well, but I mean, Chris Pine, I would, he's not.
Yeah, he's he's
easy on the eye.
He's a good-looking man.
And you kind of go, but 70 years, blimey. Yeah, and that's kind of it's kind of a plot point.
Kind of. I mean, when she talks to Barbara when they go out for dinner together, she's like, I don't really, my life hasn't been what you probably think it is. Which is like, I've basically just been alone the whole time forever and pining for Chris. But as Barbara says to her, you must constantly have people asking you out. Yeah.
You must be fighting them off. Beating them off with a shitty stick. Yes, exactly.
So she is just being stubborn, basically. She has too high standards. If just nobody who's ever asked her out, which basically, based on this film, is every man who's ever seen her.
But they all are ugly fucking
most of them,
horrors. Yeah, in kind of really
no one
can jackets.
No one can live up to Steve Trevor.
No.
So
okay for that.
Yeah, so we meet Barbara.
She comes in, and basically she's playing the same character from Ghostbusters and Bridesmaids.
Oh, every scene, every film she's ever been in. So basically her whole character is she can't walk in heels. So that makes her a loser. And all her colleagues, all her male colleagues, which is all her colleagues, are complete arseholes to her because she's such a fucking loser who can't walk in heels. And I put down it's Sandy back at school being ignored by Danny in Greece. So all the cool kids don't think she's a loser, and there's one guy, the Asian guy who works at Smithsonian, with a collar.
who she drops her briefcase and she goes, can you give me a hand? And he just looks at her and goes, doesn't even say anything. He just walks off.
Barely acknowledges her. The woman who literally hired her last week. Doesn't know who she is.
And
so
it's
she's
weird because she's
forgettable.
She's kind of. It's like she's been there it's like the first day. It's that kind of first day at school. That's up, but she's been there for 2 weeks or something. Yeah, you hired me 2 weeks ago. You interviewed me. You don't know who I am. Everyone's mean to her. She wears a frumpy skirt. That's it. And you go, that's the whole reason.
That's her character so far.
And you think, it's 1984, that's okay.
She's a gemologist. That's her
which
job.
I thought was a made up role, but it's not.
Who's been hired by the Smithsonian?
Yeah, to look at
which is
fake
like
or
one of
otherwise
the major museum system in Washington,
academical and research. Yeah.
So chances are, and that's where Diana's working. Chances are she's reasonably good at her job. Except that the FBI have sent the MacGuffin of the film to the Smithsonian because they don't know what it is, and it was kind of caught in the heist from the mall, and she apparently is shit at her job because immediately she decides it's a fake, which it definitely isn't. Not only is it not a fake, it is instrumental in the breakdown of every major world civilization ever,
which has been documented.
Yeah, it's been documented
throughout history.
It's literally on Roman coins.
Yeah,
and she doesn't know what it is and assumes it's a fake.
Yeah, well, that's because she's a gemologist and nothing else. No, but she does list off a whole bunch of things that she is.
Gemology and amateur cryptozoologist.
Yeah. Which is like that secret animals or something.
It's like kind of Loch Ness monster, Yeti.
Oh, okay,
that kind of thing, cryptids.
Bit of a foreshadowing.
But when she eventually looks into it later on in the film, she easily finds that it shows up in every major society.
Yeah.
There is no chance that anyone who has studied these societies doesn't know about these things. This thing.
But she hasn't, because almost immediately that she's doing it, because there's a scene where she's got the thing and she's been asked to, the FBI have asked for her by name, and she looks into it and then immediately says to Diana, who is there, why is she there? Because she's come to help.
Yeah, Diana's kind of... Diana is interested by the fact that this stuff... Yeah, this stuff was a... I'm not sure what Diana does at the Smithsonian.
No.
She does mention it to Barbara.
All sorts of stuff. She talks Latin. It's a hobby. Does everything. But later on, several scenes later, she is... she's studying this stuff. It's not her job. She's not been asked to do it. Barbara's been specifically employed to look at this stuff and asked by name by the FBI to look into this thing and
to identify this specific artifact.
And yet Diana is spending all her time looking for it, such that she comes down to find it later on when Barbara isn't there. She comes down to look at it with Barbara in the first place, at which point we discover that Barbara can't read Latin and Diana can.
And it says something about wishing in Latin, basically.
Yeah.
And then a bloke...
And then a bloke, comic store guy... Asif, I forget his name, Asif something. He's a British stand-up. Yeah. With a ponytail.
Yeah. He says, I wish I had a coffee.
Yeah.
And then someone gives him a coffee.
Where is whatever? Only she's not here. I've got a spare coffee. And he goes, what are the chances of that? Eh? And I did look up takeaway coffee at that point. And in 1984, the zenith of coffee cup lids was invented when a company called Solo filed the patent for the Traveller lid, which combined a functional look with a lid domed enough to accommodate the drinks, with a protruding rim that allowed for a little cooling space, because when he drinks it, he goes, oh, hot, hot, hot. And also a depression in the middle of the lid, so when you're drinking it, you don't squash your nose. All of that was invented in 1984. In 2005, the Museum of Modern Art added that lid to the permanent collection.
Because I did see a thing that said that the specific lid that was on those coffee cups wasn't introduced until 1986.
Wow. Wow. Well, there you go. That could be the bit where he goes, oh, hot.
Yeah.
There you go. Fantastic. But the thing is, right, he holds the what we think at this point is made of citrine, which sounds a bit like latrine.
Yeah.
And so is it therefore a fake? Wishes for this thing, nothing happens except the coffee appears.
Yeah.
But then Diana said, they go, oh, yeah, and Barbara said, oh, blimey, what would you wish for? And Diana goes, oh, I know what I would wish for. And then we get ethereal wind.
Yeah.
Which plays
she doesn't say it out loud, though. She's the only person in the entire film who doesn't wish out loud.
And we get some wind like that. And we go, what, you know.
Yeah, apparently wishes make
okay, what's
wind.
happened? Exactly.
We don't,
Except for if you're the coffee guy.
Except for the coffee guy.
Yeah.
And also, as we will discover, this is a... I'm not going to call it a monkey's paw. Although Steve Trevor does later, and I will get into why I'm not going to call it a monkey's paw.
Okay.
But it is a wish that comes with a price. Every wish...
But we don't know that.
No, we don't know that yet. But every wish that is made on this device, on this stone, comes with a price. Something gets taken away from you.
Yep.
Coffee guy, no idea. No idea what his price is.
No.
I don't know if the price is commensurate with the level of the wish. So he just doesn't get.
Maybe it was hot.
Yeah, maybe it was a bit too hot.
The price was it burnt
or
he
doesn't get a lemonade that he wanted later on, or something like that. I don't know what it is.
No sugar.
But we
Somebody
don't ever get to find out what he misses out on or loses because he got his wish. But he did.
Yeah.
He made a wish, got his wish. That was it. You only get one wish. He kind of wasted it, asking for a coffee. Diana doesn't wish out loud. She just we know that.
I know what I wish for.
And for some reason, we get a cut to the watch that Steve Trevor gave her in the first film. This very bulky kind of wooden watch. Yeah. And and it moves a bit.
Yeah.
Now if she has, as we obviously assume she has, wished that Steve was back, and he is.
Why don't we see him?
Why does the watch move?
Yeah.
So that's it for part 1 of episode 1 of Wonder Woman 1984. We didn't get very far into the film. Because it takes a while. It takes a while to talk about how bad things are.
It's that kind of dealing. It's a gish gallop of a film.
It's a gish gallop of shit.
And you've got to A, hose yourself down, and B, why have we been covered in 15 layers of flavours of shit, and then just kind of work that out. So yes, we leave them.
Yeah, the MacGuffin's been introduced.
Yeah.
So we've got that
true.
bit at least. There's the thing that is going to drive the plot for the rest of the film, such as it is. And But you have to wait now, unless you've put off listening to this one. Probably. Chances are you have to wait now before the next one, drops
Which
on
will be
New Year's Day.
On New Year's Day, yeah. Of course, you could kind of short circuit the whole thing and just join up to be a patron.
There is that
and
possibility.
get access to the countless episodes that we dedicated to this monstrosity, as well as a vast library of books and YouTube channels and other films that we've looked at and endured on your behalf.
Yeah.
Did I say endured? Enjoyed.
No, I think you were right first time.
On your behalf. So yeah, if you want to do that,
Patreon.com/ftrump.
yeah, nip over there. You could join up and get access to all sorts of extra goodies.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we'll see you again on New Year's Day.